This article was published on the 13th of December 2025 in the Gold Coast Bulletin by Anne Wason-Moore. Teens' records reveal highly irregular secret plan. The parents of Giaan Ramsay are reeling after the 17-year-old's medical records revealed healthcare officials secretly arranged for another family to hold her high-dose psychotropic medication. Steve and Lizelle Ramsay have fought for 5 months to gain access to the 23,000 pages of medical records for Giaan, who died by suicide on July 17, just days after being discharged from the short-stay Robina mental health ward, where she had been kept involuntarily under a treatment authority for almost 9 months. The family applied for the records in June, before her death, and were told they would be released within 25 days. But they were repeatedly delayed, before finally being released last week. The release came after an inquiry from the Bulletin and intervention from the Office of the Chief Psychiatrist, which is currently conducting an investigation into Gold Coast Child and Youth Mental Health Services. Medical negligence experts said Giaan's death, which is being probed by the coroner, should be the subject of a coronial inquest, describing Gold Coast Health's actions as highly irregular and fraught with danger. A Gold Coast Health spokesperson said they were unable to provide further comment as the matter was before the coroner, who would examine the care provided and the relevant factors. They said the family's RTI application for medical records was delayed as it required a significant volume of work. Giaan's discharge letter from Gold Coast Hospital and Health Service dated July 17, 2025 stated, as Giaan's parents hold different views around Giaan's medications and there are significant concerns that they will not be administered on discharge, as a safety net, Giaan's friends, names redacted by the Bulletin, will have a supply should Giaan have difficulty accessing them at home. Her parents are unaware of this, as per Giaan's wishes, and this should continue to be respected. Those medications included her prescribed 150mg dose of venlafaxine. These medications included her prescribed 150mg dose of venlafaxine, 4 times the standard starting dose for adults, and not approved by the TGA for minors. According to Healthline, lethal outcomes have been seen at doses as low as 2 grams. The Ramsay said Giaan once asked for 4 tablets at one time from the other family and was given them, although she did not take them. We feel betrayed. Mr. Ramsay said he had since learned that Giaan, who had an eating disorder and history of sexual abuse, was able to take double doses of this medication, despite the Ramsays ensuring the medication in their home was locked and distributed daily on schedule. He said he bore no ill will towards the other family, who were told by a hospital doctor to pick up Giaan's medications from their local chemist and not to tell the Ramsays. However, he said he felt betrayed by the medical system and said he was furious at the lies and misinformation contained within the discharge letter, as well as the medical records. I can't believe that the hospital could be so deceitful and keep this critical information from us as parents. This can't be legal, Mr. Ramsay said. This other family were not legal guardians. They should not be medically accountable, and I don't see how they could have lawful authority to manage or supervise our daughter's prescribed medications. What if Giaan had overdosed? Would they be liable? Giaan was under a treatment authority, which meant that in the eyes of the health service, she lacked decision-making capacity, but suddenly they are allowing her to decide to hide medication from her parents and not telling us? The fact that this was purposely kept hidden from us due to concern that we would not administer the medication to Giaan is absolutely disgusting. We were the ones continually highlighting the concerns, the doctors and authorities, that Giaan wanted to stop taking the medication cold turkey, and we were extremely vocal about the need to be slowly and gently weaned off this medication. We did not believe that these medications were helping her, because they weren't. She died while still taking them. But we knew that messing up doses could endanger her even more, so we begged for medical supervision, and Gold Coast Health knows that. The echo of Giaan's voice. Messages sent from Giaan to her family in her last months detail her exasperation with both her medication and health officials. I have no choice but to take the meds, otherwise they'll inject me regardless, said one message. All the nurses are on my side. They see no clinical reason to forcefully give it to me, because they don't even know why it's become a thing in the first place, since there's no reason for it. So I will not be injected tonight because it is mistreatment, and the nurses have had enough of the hypocrisy. In another message, Giaan said, I have been on this med every single admission, multiple doses, and multiple ways of receiving it. When does it click that it doesn't work for me? Do doctors get aroused prescribing meds, or are they just idiots? It doesn't work for me. It strips me of my personality. It zonks me out into oblivion, and it doesn't help me. Quit getting off on over-medicating young brains. Compensation law expert Henry Garrett, a senior associate at Atwood Marshall, which specializes in handling complex medical negligence cases, said while he was not privy to the full context of Giaan's medical experience, in his opinion, a hospital prescribing medication to someone other than a minor's legal guardian raised significant concerns. He said her case could become the subject of a coronial inquest, not just the usual inquiry. For a hospital to send a minor's psychiatric medications to friends without notifying the parents, I believe this would raise concerns for AHPRA, the health ombudsman, and if required, the coroner, Mr. Garrett said. The common sense approach would be that it is unacceptable. But then to extend that to a legal basis, what authority did they have to not consult with a legal guardian before making that decision? Their duty is to her parents. These actions seem highly irregular and fraught with danger. It is a bizarre event that requires a thorough investigation to ensure that it doesn't happen again. Shock accusations. Mrs. Ramsay said that the family was shocked to see how hospital staff mischaracterized them, including accusations they conducted exorcisms, and that Giaan had a history of physical, verbal, and emotional abuse. She said she could not understand why, if Gold Coast Health staff believed this, they did not contact authorities to investigate the family. If you're in a situation where you're making all these allegations, or even if Giaan was making these allegations, you need to investigate that immediately, she said. Call a meeting, say, look, this is what's being presented, it's very serious, we need to discuss it. We would have welcomed that to set the record straight, but one minute the hospital says Giaan has no cognitions, the next minute they act like what she says is gospel. Let's work with the facts. We had nothing to hide. Investigate us now if you like. We just wanted to give our girl the best care and for her to be alive. We should have been on the same team. Why did they set us up as adversaries? Just because we thought the medication Giaan was on was not working does not mean that we were opposed to any medication. Our kids are vaccinated. We believe in mainstream medication, but the medication she was on was not working. But if they were so worried about Giaan's care that they felt they had to discharge her medication to another family, why were they discharging Giaan herself to our care? Contradictions and corrections. Mr. Ramsay said while he was yet to go through the bulk of the 23,000 pages of medical records, he was disturbed by the incorrect information, anomalies, and frequent redactions in what he had viewed so far. The circumstances leading to Giaan's involuntary treatment order, as stated on her treatment authority review, were also contradicted in the medical records. The TA review document stated that Giaan's parents refused to return her to the ward after going home for her mother's birthday in November 2022, despite extensive attempts by staff to encourage parents to bring her back. According to the contemporaneous medical records, Giaan was eating well at home, and when Mr. Ramsay said she had expressed her desire to stay home over the weekend, staff were not acutely concerned. Discussion with doctor advises to let her stay at home over the weekend and have them return on Monday morning for a meeting with their treating team, the record stated. Mr. Ramsay said another page referred to Giaan's lowest weight as 22.4 kilos, a weight at which, he said, she would not survive. She never dropped below 34 kilos, but that is just one example of many, he said. It's just concerning how wrong so much of this is and how long it took to give to us. What are they hiding? Haunted by history. Mr. Garrett said delaying the release of medical records was unfortunately not uncommon across the health system. He said it was a trend that lawyers regularly dealt with. It's not just this particular hospital, it's across the board, and it's often because there is something to hide, he said. Patients and families often have real difficulty in obtaining information about what's happening. Call me cynical, but these trends aren't a coincidence. The hospitals create subtle barriers such as delay, which can be indicative of something being wrong with what you're inquiring about. They could be concealing a mistake. Mrs. Ramsay said reading over the records had only re-traumatized the family as they prepared to face their first Christmas without Giaan. She said she recently discovered Giaan's handwritten treatment authority self-report in the back of her closet and was haunted by her daughter's self-reflection. She said she showed a medical worker the document when they met and asked how her daughter could be assessed as unable to hold decision-making capacity. She said he did not answer. The document asked whether there were people in Giaan's life who could help her, and she answered, "People that have helped me and can continue to are my family, as they understand me and my situation. I'm comfortable speaking to them and can trust their judgment and believe they have my best interests in mind." When asked if she believed she had a mental illness, Giaan answered, "I believe I have an eating disorder. It impacts me cognitively, and I am able to differentiate between myself and the irrational thoughts and externalize them to others. I feel disappointed to be seen as though my efforts failed." When asked what supports Giaan had in place to make sure she took her medication, Mrs. Ramsay said Giaan's answer was heartbreaking, in both its irony and simplicity. She wrote, "Mum and Dad,